Today's episode of The Real Deal On is brought to you by Guided Hypnotic Meditation. Feeling stressed out? Riddled with anxiety? Perhaps you're experiencing night terrors or worse, day terrors. Then you go over to guidedhypnotic.com and download your free guided hypnotic meditation and bust that anxiety once and for all. Sponsored by guidedhypnotic.com. Self-promotion. There you go. All right. So my dear friend, uber rockin' human being, Gualter Amarelo. Over the years, he's earned more than $1 million through his businesses, nearly $500,000 simply by using his own real-world experiences to help hundreds of students create high levels of success in their own lives. But Gualter wasn't always a millionaire. In fact, for about 10 years, he struggled with a series of failed business ventures, wondering why it seemed impossible to get any of his ideas off the ground. At one point, he was so broke he had to move in with his brother. Embarrassing at any age, but especially at age 30. Then he received some advice that would change his life forever. A wealthy mentor told him to study the strategies and the mindset of people who were already rich and to find out what they had in common that made them so successful. And the rest is history. Now, after years of trial and error, Gualter has created a step-by-step copy and paste system that literally anyone can use to create wealth. These are powerful marketing strategies that can help any business in any industry find ideal customers and draw them into you like magic.
Doug, I love it. You got the speaker's voice. You've got all the...
Oh, we lost you already? Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, when I heard speaker's voice and then we lost you.
Most of it was about speaker's voice, Panaz. Love the intro. You brought me in like a rock star, and you're smart enough to sell something first. So I love it.
Amen. Well, so first of all, thank you for being on this this experience, and this is exactly what this show is about. What you just shared, seeking out people who are accomplishing results, and then my experience has always been that people who do experience results generally like to share how they did it, because in order for successful people to continue to grow, they need more successful people to do business with. So they're very happy to support them in getting results so that they could continue everyone to grow. So thank you so much for joining us. So let's start out. What got you into, you said that's multiple businesses, so let's get the timeline. Like, what happened? How did you go from broke to millionaire, and what were those businesses?
Well, before I hit millionaire, went broke to $250,000 and wrote the book. And then actually by the time the book came out, I was already a millionaire. But that's a good question, right? So a lot of people want to know how to, what business is it that makes you rich? And before I dive into it, I'll just say that any business can make you rich as long as somebody has gotten rich in that business. But for me, it was real estate. And I started off as an accountant and did the numbers one day and just said, oh my God, it's going to take me 40 years to earn $1 million at the rate I'm going. And that's a lot of time. And that includes a pay raise. So I had better, one, get that pay raise. And two, I'm going to have to figure something else out, because 20 years to become a millionaire wasn't going to cut it. Nobody was going to think you're a hero from doing that. So I shifted into buying rental property. I started in stocks. That didn't work out. Then I started buying rental property. It increased my net worth, but I noticed the rental property wasn't increasing my cash flow. It wasn't increasing the amount of money I was making monthly, although it did, incrementally a little bit.
Right.
And I had, I think, 12 units at the time before I realized this isn't exactly working out for, you can't live off of 12 units, right? It's $1,200 a month, or I was self-managing, so maybe it was like $3,000 a month. So at that point, I considered myself retired, because I didn't necessarily have to do anything other than manage my own properties. But it wasn't true satisfaction. It was like a part-time job, a pseudo retirement, right? That was at 30 years old. When I got my real estate license and started working, I realized I'd created another job for myself. And I was just working 60, 70 hours a week. And then I got into 80 hours a week. And I went from that first year, I made $17,000. And I realized, oh my God, I suck as a salesperson. I'm literally, the worst salesperson on the planet because I come as an accountant, right? And so I started diving into sales, and I went to Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, so T. Harv Ekker's training program, and I reset my blueprint, and I aimed for 100,000 that year, and I hit 87,000 as an agent, and then another 35,000 on my rental properties, and so I literally hit like $115,000 from resetting my mindset, right? Just like resetting it, and I realized, oh shit, like if that's possible, what else is possible? And the next year I started flipping houses. I did my first flip, made 32,000 off of it, and I had no money into it. I had absolutely no money into that flip. I had a partner. I had two partners on that, and they made 42,000 and I made 32,000. And like that was okay with me because I wasn't going to make that money anyway.
Right.
So that was the first year I made $250,000, was adding the flip in, adding the rental properties. I picked up 2 more rental properties, and I started building a team of real estate agents. So instead of me doing all the work, I had my agents out there working with me, and it was kind of another added stream of income. So I was working, they were working. The team actually produced as much money as I produced, but they were working like the team cost me anything to run. And I had to go and bust my butt for 70, 80 hours a week in order to get my agency income up. And so I just really started shifting and said, man, like this, there's something here to the rental property, there's something here to the flips, and there's something here to the team. But as long as I'm managing everything, I'm slowing down. And so I got a property manager. I took her in-house, and she was my assistant property manager. She ran the brokerage for me, all the paperwork and stuff. And it made it simpler to have that person in place. But I didn't become a millionaire until I decided to take on a true partner, an equity partner, somebody who also had to become a millionaire by me becoming a millionaire. And so that took me to the next level.
Well, and that's such a powerful distinction, because all too often I think people, sometimes they get into that scarcity, that lack mentality, and the fear is, oh, if I bring in a partner, that's half of what I could have been making. And it's so interesting in my music career, one of the first, I guess, equity partner conversations that one could have in that was when some of my friends, and actually one of them is going to be on today, Dee Snider, got a song on a Celine Dion record. And, you know, and so a couple of my friends got these songs on these Celine records, and Celine gets 50% of the publishing just to sing the song. And they both were like, look, I could keep 100% of zero, or I could get 50% of, you know, multiple million records sold. I'm going to go for that. I'm okay with that. I'm willing to take that on. And
Right.
Same is true with real estate and all of that. You know, to create that alignment, if you can accomplish more, if you 100% of, you know, $1 million or 50% of $10 million, which is better?
Exactly. Yeah, Doug, you got the right mindset. And that was so hard for me because it was so ingrained in my head that partners were for dancing. Like, that was a statement that I made through my entire late 20s and early 30s. When somebody would say, hey, you want a partner? I'd be like, ha, partners are for dancing. I don't partner, right? That's why I only make $250,000.
Right.
Because you can't get past $250,000 by yourself. I don't know anybody who's done it. I know you can make 100,000 alone. You can make $250,000 alone. Getting past the $250,000, it takes somebody else in there doing it with you.
And I think a distinction there is strategic partner. And it's not always 50-50 either. So you know, sometimes you could actually give up even more than 50, and other times you could obviously hold more than 50. It really depends on how much leverage you're looking for and how much you're bringing. So I think, you know, I just want people, when they're listening to this, think that partnership must be 50-50, and it's not.
And it's
alignment.
It's not always equity either, right? So
Right.
the equity is, so this is just the path I chose. I chose a 50-50 equity partner. We operate 2 totally different sides of our business, and we solely work on our strengths. And because of that, we're able to pull far more in. And I had to go 50-50 because he knows his value, right? He is valuable. And
Right.
I couldn't, and he matched me, right? He matched me just on the opposite side of the spectrum. Familiar with DISC. I'm a DI, and he's a CS. So we completely align. We have different approaches to the same problems.
And fill the gaps. Yep.
Yeah. And so that was, so I wouldn't say 50-50 is for everybody. I think that it really is, how much do you bring? How much do they bring? And sometimes equity isn't necessary.
Well,
Sometimes,
sweat equity is sometimes more valuable than the actual finances, because quite honestly, money is kind of easy to find. There's a lot of people with money who are willing to invest,
yeah,
but they want someone who's going to then fill the gap with the sweat equity,
yes,
because they want, they just want to leverage their funds, not their knowledge.
yeah.
Which is, look, there's no right or wrong way. So let's go back to a little bit of the timeline, because one of the purposes of this program, the show, this podcast, these videos, is to show people what's possible and how we've overcome obstacles. And before you got into real estate, you had some failed businesses. What were some of the lessons you learned, and what were the emotions that you went through as you were experiencing these ups and downs, even to go back and living with your brother?
All right. So many failed businesses, some legal, some not legal. And so before marijuana was legal here in Massachusetts, a friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want to grow?" And I was like, "No, I'm not interested." Then he threw a wad of cash on the table and I said, "Sign
Now I'm
me up."
interested. Yep.
Right. Now I'm interested. I was like, "I'll never deal it. I'll never sell it." I was like, "No. I sell it in Rhode Island. I sell it to, it's medicinal and it goes to these guys. Just got to follow these processes." Right. It was very unregulated back then. And I got to the point where I was pulling in $2,000 extra a month from just turning, just growing the plants, cutting them and passing them to somebody. And that was my first taste of actual working entrepreneurship. I had always sold myself before as a 1099 contractor. So I would go and, like, literally I was whoring myself out to companies, right? Like, "Hey, I've got accounting skills. I'll work for you. I've now got administrative skills. I'll work for you. I got marketing skills now. I'll work for you." And worked my way up through companies like Johnson & Johnson, Walmart, Computer Associates, Coca-Cola. And I just would bounce around between these major companies and work 6-month contracts. And it was like they pay me $20, well, $18, then $20, then 22, then 25, then 30. Then I got an offer for 35. Then Johnson & Johnson brought me on full time and said, "No, we're done with you contracting. Here's the full benefits, $35 an hour, work with us." And it was a big experience. Like, that's entrepreneurship. I don't care how you look at it. Like, I was literally, I looked at my life and said, well, I'm no longer going to just work for one company. I'm going to be the person who fills the gap for each company. I'll service them in that manner. And so I was getting a raise every freaking time. And I realized I hit my blueprint, right? I hit my blueprint. I made way too much money. And that was the year that I made 75,000 in that year. The next year I made 17 because I had to even out my blueprint.
What was your in MMI, for those people who have done it? What was your money relationship? Who were
Oh,
you?
I'm a saver. So
Okay.
I'm a saver, hardcore. I'm working on learning spending, but I'm
Okay.
actually very good at spending now because I do it in the investment manner.
Right. All right. Money
But
monk.
yes, oh, Money Monk. Oh, I see it. I see it. You were the only guy on stage, right?
There was 2 last time.
Nice. So there was 2 of you.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, usually when I've done the event, I'm yes, part of the elite.
The few, the proud, the
Yeah.
money. We don't need money. Money's not important. We
Uh,
can live without it. And if you continue to live that way, then money doesn't show up because it's not important.
Yep. Still, it's a daily practice to add, like, to hold value for, like, like this. This is like money mucking it now. I'm having incredible guests on for free. There is no charge to anybody. I don't charge people to be on it, and we don't charge people to download it. We don't, right? There I am. It's just, we got to give the information. We got to help people. How we monetize it. Obviously, it's branding right now and so forth as well. But again, it's a daily practice for us. So you, as a saver, had to look at how to start investing, because I'm sure that was a hard thing to part with as you started to even go to seminars and start investing, because the MMI was free, but the rest of them aren't.
It took me 5 times going to the free MMI to finally pay for Quantum Leap. 5 times I had to go for free to finally be like, there might be something here. Like, I was like, sell to me, sell to me, sell to me. But then, like, my saver mindset said I've never spent that. I didn't even go to college, right? I've never spent that kind of money on my education.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand it. And I went to college for 2 semesters, right? And I spent that $5,000 at a community college for 2 semesters. And out of it, I said, this didn't get me anything, right? Like, I don't feel any smarter. I didn't feel my job change.
Right.
It did teach me Excel, and that is what got me my first job in the office world. But like at the end of the day, I had a hard time paying for information.
Mm-hmm.
And so that leap, I'll never forget, the trainer Doug looked at me and he said, look, if $10,000 is a lot for you today, well, won't it be? Like, when will you get it? And so, next year. Saw him again the next year. Didn't have it.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, that's sometimes that mindset. Well, I'll start eating right and exercising after I lose the weight.
Right.
And it's never going to happen that way. Okay,
Exactly.
so you were working. You got the job at Johnson & Johnson, and you noticed a pattern. And while you were there, is that when you went to the MMI?
So no. So life had to cut me down on my knees first before I could decide that I needed help. So yes, I was a horrible saver. When I talk about like Scrooge McDuck, right? Like Scrooge, like as deep, like money being spent or lost, like hurt me emotionally. And so I was on the unhealthy side of saving. And I am now partially money monk. It's actually why my money has become so abundant, is because I've gotten more of a spiritual approach to it and let go of money.
Oh, losing you, Bobby.
Spend through investing. And even money avoidance has some value to it. And that money avoidance is, I'm not going to look at the bills right now, but I will pay them when it's time. And
Right.
just knowing that there's a time to avoid and be aware. There's a time to save. There's a time to spend. And there's a time to be spiritual and say, money comes to me freely. I have everything that I want. But the problem is, and that's what MMI teaches us, is that we're too far in any one direction. And
Right.
you've got to have balance on some level, right? Saving is important, but so is spending on the right things. And
Well, so it was investing.
right, investing. And it wasn't until I became a investor that my life opened up. And I realized you have to spend, you have to let it go sometimes.
Well, and also it's that relationship, like David Dweck,
Yeah.
great friend, one of my best friends down here, and mentor and partner. And I remember one time I was refining something. I'm like, hey, Dave, I got to let's start aggressively looking for opportunities. I've got 100K to play with. And he's like, whoa, you don't play with money.
I love it.
Or like it was just that simple mindset, because here and there's the money monk in me, kind of like, we're just gonna and he's like, no, this ain't a game. Like, we don't play with money. It is a powerful tool. We invest it wisely, we protect it, we use it responsibly. We are stewards of our craft and have the right language around it.
Yes.
And it's so interesting how we program ourselves into our relationship through the language we use, for good or for bad. Like, it's just an awareness factor, right? So, I mean, the good news is, I'm part of my thing. The reason maybe why people would use the word play is so that if something happens, you're like, oh, I was just playing.
But it's literally a way to afterwards, like, take it away from, like, to separate yourself from it. Right. So you studied NLP, hypnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and so you understand the concepts of separating yourself from something means it didn't touch you. It means that it didn't go inside. You didn't have to handle it. It was, oh no, just kidding. Well, it's not real then, is it?
Right. Yeah. I'll just dissociate through language of my relationship. Totally.
Association. Yes.
So, all right. So your bottom when you went to do that was going to your brother's house. Was that your?
So what caused it was actually, so my bottom wasn't necessarily financial, it was emotional. So when I was married at the time, and we've been married for 3 years, been together for 7, we bought our first rental property together, bought our second rental property. Well, we bought our first house together, convinced her to sell it and go and buy 2 rental properties. And it was while I was renovating the first rental property, the second one was under contract. She told me she wanted a divorce. She said that she was done. She wanted out. She couldn't stand the person I'd become, that I'd become so obsessed with money, so obsessed with change. I didn't want that stability. I didn't want that house. That's like, I built the most beautiful house for her, right? We renovated it, got it perfect. And as soon as it was perfect, I had to get out because it didn't have anything to fix. There was no project for me. And I was just emotionally detached from the property. I remember the day we sold it, I had a euphoria. Like, it's gone, the project's done, now it's completed. And for her, she emotionally was just in turmoil because she was so emotionally attached to the property. And rule number one of real estate investing, side note, is never fall in love with a property.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't understand that. I told her over and over again.
Well, because you were looking at it as an investment more than a home, and where, I mean, so like you can fall in love with your home, um, but if your mindset is going into it, hey, this is an investment, and that's a fine line. Like I remember, I'm formerly married as well, and our first house, beautiful, it was like it was built in 1911. So like it didn't have a finished basement and all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, great, we're gonna finish the basement, we're gonna do this stuff, and I finished half the basement, and then there's like a laundry room, and I'm like, all right, let's finish the laundry room, and she's like, no. I'm like, why? She's like, because you don't do that. I'm like, okay, but someday we're going to sell this and someone's going to want that. Like, we got to look at this as an investment. It's not just a thing. And we never did it. And that was like that mindset, similar to you, it's like changed. There's a lot of problems, obviously, but yeah, I mean, even if you do fall in love with something and you're improving it, there is always going to be that mindset. Well, we're still at some point going to be letting this go, and we need to be thinking capital investments, thinking, what's the exit strategy.
Yep. And I love that you were in that old house. So my first house was 1760.
Oh my gosh.
We weren't even a nation yet.
Amazing.
We were just a bunch of settlers. I had trees. My house was in the basement, trees, and there was no access through the house. You had to go outside through a little bunker. And so, yeah, I know what it's like to work with an outdated house, right?
Yeah. The old cloth wiring and the slot. I don't know what that wall is called.
Tube. Yep. Where with like the two wires, just exposed wires running by each other.
Yep.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. This is how we're gonna light our house.
We had a kitchen that was it was like the Brady Bunch kitchen, and it actually had a little plaque built in 1970, and it was like the most modern thing in the 70s. It was like Formica.
I had the red Formica. I had the red crazy 70s linoleum.
Yeah.
Like, this kitchen was rough.
Oh, I love it. Okay, sorry. So go ahead. So
so she tells me she wants to be formally married, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the way you worded that. And I took that very hard. Right? She wanted to be divorced. And to me, I had put everything that I did for her in my head. Everything that I had done, every property, every dollar, every company jump I did, I had built that I did this for her. And now, obviously, this comes into love languages, completely different love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And for me at the time, I was heavily acts of service. And so then she was gifts, right? So acts of service and gifts just doesn't work out so well if you don't understand the love languages, which I didn't at the time. And so
this is retrospective at the time. So you were not aware at all. Okay.
I was the most ignorant saver, work hard. If you work hard enough, everybody will appreciate your work and fall in love with you. And in the end, that was very C. I look back and it was a very cautious mentality of just introverted, not listening to people, just doing, and with a high sense of D and an immature I. So it was a very broken personality, right?
Well, DC, yeah. Again, if people who understand DISC, the DC combination is challenging at best because they're so conflicted.
Yeah, and so I pushed hard and wasn't listening to people, and so that's what ended up causing it. I remember sitting on a paint bucket in a half renovated apartment, just blankly staring at the wall, thinking, this is it. I'm done. There's no point in moving on. I'd suffered with suicidal thoughts my whole life as a child. And so this was the one. I looked at it and I said, yeah, I found it. I had a good enough reason. This is kind of it. No reason to continue moving forward. And I'll never forget. I still get a chill when I think about it. I just thought of my brother and what he would think of me if I left him here. He's a little younger than me, and I've always been the one to push him. And I had that thought, and I said, "Fuck!" Like, I guess I have to stay. but I need some reason to stay. I need some reason to be here. I need something that's going to push me beyond ever being hurt like this from a person, to take the power away from people and put it into something bigger than myself. And I promised that I would first become rich. I'd hit this mission that I knew was so important. I'd first become rich, and I'd teach people how to become rich, because it was money. In my mind, it was money that broke up the relationship. And later on, I discovered it was actually my own immaturity. It was a lack of personal development. And so my focus shifted, because the idea was to help people never experience the pain and suffering that I experienced, and to never inflict it on people. Because I realized the reason she left was not because I was suffering, it was because I was making her suffer. And so it opened a lot in me that I did not understand at the time, but it put me on the mission of, I'm just going to learn as much as I can to become the best that I can, and then teach it. And that's where all of the training companies come into play. The 100 Millionaires is about not necessarily teaching people how to get rich, but who you have to become a millionaire, who you have to on the inside change to be. You become a very quality, high level person by learning how to work with people, by learning how to treat your relationships with importance, by seeing value in people. And that dark moment of nearly taking my own life, and I had it all visualized. I had a dozen different ways. I'd been thinking about it for years. And
As a good C would.
yeah, I was not gonna mess up. Was the point. And when I realized that I've been focusing on the wrong things my entire life, and it was time to focus on something important, I pulled away from relationships. I pulled away from anything that I thought would distract me, and I went all in like a C on self-development, on reading the books, on figuring things out. And
what was the first book or the first event that you went to? That was at MMI?
So what was MMI? It was.
Did you get the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind? Is that how you found out about the MMI?
So strange. I love, you know what, as you're asking this, I've not been asked this in years, and I don't even, like at the first I was like, I don't know the answer, but I found it. It was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was the first book. I read it in college, and my former wife was the one who encouraged me to go to college. And then it was 4 years before my next self-development book. It wasn't until after she asked to cut things off that I read a book called The 4 Agreements. And then I got into Bigger Pockets. And actually before the divorce, I'd gotten into Bigger Pockets. I started reading about a book a week. Every time they'd say a book, I'd go and I'd read the book. And it was books like ABC's of Real Estate Investing.
So at that point, you were already, obviously you did the investing. You weren't an agent yet. You were just sort of, your side hustle was doing the rentals.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I had 2 rental properties when she and I decided to part ways. And I had just like right before the actual finality of the divorce, I got my real estate license. So I quit my job. When she asked for the divorce, I quit my job. I instantly was like, okay, I've got to focus on my relationship. I got $25,000 in the bank. I got 2 rental properties. Money's not solving the problem, right? Like I got more money than I've ever had before. It wasn't a lot, but it was more money than I'd ever had before. And that wasn't solving the problem. In fact, it created a pain in me where I said, oh my God, money's causing my divorce. Right. And I had a lot of ownership on that pain. And I realized, like, I've got to cut, like, okay, money's not the issue. Get out, right? Money won't get, right? Forget that, like, let's save and forget saving, because that was a pain point for her as well. I was like, let's spend, right? Let's book a trip to Portugal. Let's, I quit my job. Like, I'm going to work on your business 100%. We had a wedding invitation business at the time. And I just dedicated everything into it. Again, obsessive. And I started learning sales, and I went for my real estate license so that I could provide money, because I realized now she was scared about money. And so I was going back and forth, polarizing on both sides to the extremes, right? Because clearly I'm an extreme personality. It's okay. If this doesn't work, bam, let's go to the other side. Yep. And then I will eventually calibrate. I'm better at it now, but back then it was as far from one problem as I could go. I went to the other side of it.
Right.
And this was I look back, she was an S, right? She was a big S and a C, and or maybe probably very high I. Yeah. So SI. So what other people's perception of us and our relationship was very important to her. And to everybody, I was doing the opposite of what everybody else did. I was not working a full-time job. I was, being an entrepreneur. I was investing in real estate, doing all the toilet stuff that everybody's scared of. I encouraged her to start her own business and quit her job. And so we'd gotten to this point where we were so different from all of our friends, it started ripping her apart on the inside. Right? She didn't know who she was. She was losing her identity. And this is all retrospective, man, but
Of course.
like the journey.
That's, I think, both of our superpowers is hindsight.
Yeah. I love that. It's a superpower.
So, all right. So you're hit rock bottom emotionally. Thank you. I don't have a copy of
all
yours.
times, brother.
Amen. That's where it came from.
Hey, don't worry, man. I got them both right
Good.
here.
Thank you.
4 million under construction. We got it.
So, thank you for the plug. So you're rock bottom. You're going, okay, I got to start working on myself. You dig deep. You start reading the books that are recommended by the books.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, I'm going to start investing some of my time. Was the MMI your first event? It
was my first personal development event. So I joined a Remax, and they were sending me all the Remax events, right? So it was sales. So it was create a faker personality, because sales, there's only a very few small percentage who are like, hey, be a decent human being and you'll make money, right? But obviously pick up the phone, right? Pick up the phone more often and be a decent human being. But most sales is all the manipulation. Say this, do that, become this, mirror them, right? All the bad side of NLP. And so that was my kind of like, it was one side. I've been to these success events. And so I was like, okay, they kind of work. They actually giving me tools. So it opened me up to when I found Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It was the first event that was focused. Well, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, the book, was focused on becoming a millionaire. And as I went through the book, I remember I've never had a book change me like this. And in every single chapter, it was like electricity going through me. It was like a new awareness. It was like I was seeing the world for the first time. It was like it was like I had been this entire time walking around blind, fumbling, and I was getting lucky. And it was like for the first time, like I could open my eyes and see how the world really was. And I was terrified. I was absolutely mortified with how I'd framed my mind, because, I get obsessed, and the C personality is all about creating structure and rules. And I had framed my mind in the most unhealthy, unproductive, dangerous, hurtful manner. And so I became very, very aware of my vulnerability, very aware of my weakness, very aware of how dangerous I was as a human being. Because I had a lot of influence. I was a manager. I affected a lot of lives. And I was suddenly aware of just how dangerous a human being I was. And then on the other side of it was, there was an option. There was help. There was ability for me to become something better. And it was the MMI. And I looked at the age of the book, and I looked at like this website, and I said, there's no way they're still doing this. There's no way this opportunity.
Oh, yeah. What year was that?
This was in 2014.
I think my first MMI was 06. Oh, no, maybe before that, 5. So yeah, probably 10 years before. Wow. And so you looked up and you're like, oh, let me see if this event is going on.
Like sweating, like, oh my God, like I hope I can find this website. I hope that, somebody is doing something. I'm sure they're dead and gone. And now I'm hoping for somebody to carry the mission on. And I go to the website, and oh my God, there's a local event. Like it's in Boston. I can drive to Boston. It's a 3-day event. I'm like, perfect. And it was free. And so everything in my head was like salvation, like there's a chance for me, right? Like how people feel about religion. They read the chapter and they're like, oh my God, like I'm saved. I'm saved for life. Well, my religion has always been success. I didn't know that until more recently. And it was almost like the Lord of Success, T. Harv Eker, was saying, I've got you, my child. Come work with us. And when I walked, like every moment was surreal. Every moment was just, all of these people want the same thing as me. All of these people are, projecting on everybody. They must be terrified. They must be uncomfortable. They must be thinking that they've come to the end of the world, like something bad has happened in their lives, and they're here to solve problems. And I remember Doug out there speaking, and just every word, I'd never been exposed to NLP, right? And every word just so powerful. And like me sitting there like a puppet, like I will fingers to the hand, like hand up, affirmations, do whatever you say, I'm in it. If you told me to eat fire tomorrow, I'd be eating fire. Like, like, let's go do this. I will break my own bones for you at the moment. Like that's where it was, this desperation. And then he talked about the $10,000 for the whole program. And the whole time I'm like, yeah, I need that program. Yeah, I need that program. Yeah, I need that program. Yep, I need that one too. Oh my God, it's got everything that I need. And need, right? The scarcity mindset. And I saw the dollar amount and I said, I'm not worthy, right? Like
Did it come out as that for you, or is that in retrospect you realize that?
Retrospect. So I had the fear of success. So most people suffer from the fear of failure. I'd already seen some level of success and I was afraid to lose it all again. And so I had this fear that if I spent 10,000, because I'd gone into debt, I went negative 25,000 into debt because of my, money blueprint, all the problems I was going through. I went and I made 75,000. Then I wiped all my savings out, went to negative 25. I went from 25 to negative 25. So I was now afraid of the more successful I become, the deeper I'll bury myself. And so it was this fear of success in retrospect, knowing that I wasn't the type of person who could handle money. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of it was, okay, I'm going to do everything it takes to become the person who can handle money so that when I come back here next year, I'll be able to pay for this program. And so that was my thought, was like, I'm not that person now. I don't have the tools. I'm going to go and figure out the tools.
Well, part of the challenge with some of those events is exactly that. They get a good pump up and then they think that that's enough, and they don't realize, and some people get sadly offended when, that you go to an event, especially like, free event, like, oh, this is going to be selling. Like, well, yeah, this is a free event. So how do you think they paid for it? Right. But also it's genuine, like, care and interest for people to be successful. And we all know that if you don't have skin in the game, you're not going to necessarily be applying it as much. So yeah, I don't know. Did you have some of that going on in your head as well? Was there a skepticism when, they would start rolling out all the different offers?
Yeah, there was this level of it can't work, right? It's impossible. And then by day 2, day 3, you're realizing like, oh my God, okay, I've had so much personal development, like life-changing experiences that have shifted me inside, that this definitely works. That's not the question anymore. It wasn't that, because day 3, I'm like, yeah, this works. And then by the time I realized it worked, I realized I wasn't capable because I was already overwhelmed. They were already hitting me with so much stuff that I couldn't handle. It was overload. And they'd given too much. And so I now had to go and process because I wasn't ready for any more. I was emotionally drained. I was physically drained, and just at a place where I realized my entire world was wrong. And so I didn't feel like, I felt that if I took any more on, I'd be losing myself. I'd be losing. I wouldn't be able to take, I just didn't think I was worthy of it. I didn't think that I could take on that level of information. And I was going to lose all that money, and I was going to lose all of the information that came in, and then it was just going to be shelf help sitting on the walls. And so I made a commitment to figure myself out, and I realized now I could have jumped right into that program and I would have been a year ahead. And a year as a multimillionaire is a lot. A year, this year would have been added another $2 million in net worth. And so missing a year at the time didn't seem like a lot, because hey, shit, I only made 17,000, right? No big deal.
Right.
But a year now, if I'd started a year sooner, Doug, and remember, the market was even easier to buy property. Imagine a year earlier, it wouldn't be $2 million we're talking about. It would have been a significantly larger chunk.
Yep.
And so every year that you're not in this personal development arena is a year that you're missing out on all the life, the wealth, the happiness. I could have been with the girl I'm with now a year ago. I knew her 3 years ago. And it took me this long, of personal development to get to the point where I was ready to be open for the right relationship. And so money, relationships, my physical body, right? Like, I did not take care of my body the way I do now then. My mind, the meditation, like everything a year earlier, I should have. I should have.
Well, and perhaps it's exactly the way it should be, because you can't change what happened. But the point is, the reason why I share that is because obviously we don't want to beat ourselves up. And at the same time, almost everything that in my experience has been, almost every breakthrough, almost every up level, almost every bit of conversation that you just shared is consistent. Everyone who finally gets to that next level say the exact same thing. Woulda, shoulda, coulda done it earlier, should have taken advantage of the opportunity, all of that. And, you know, it was never as bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was all in my mind. And that's why we do the personal development work, because that very reason, that we need that to build up to that point. But it's not just eat one salad.
Right.
So it's, you know, you can't really just look back, go, oh yeah, I should have just done it. Well, yeah, because you have all this energy, all this wisdom, all this experience now to look back, but you didn't have it then. And that's why doing this work is so important. That's why doing these shows are so important. And, you know, these are free resources that are, you know, available so that we can speed the process up by modeling.
Yeah. And modeling NLP, right? Neuro-linguistic programming. Yep. This journey took me into NLP, and I found NLP through the pickup artist community, right? So I was, you know, working as a pickup artist, picking up women, learning all the tricks. I learned about NLP, and I thought, wow, this could be powerful in sales. And so I went down.
It turns out there's a whole lot of sales training with NLP.
There's a lot.
Yours truly.
and you're one of the people that I've studied with, and you're in one of our Alchemist coaching programs, and that's one of your strengths. And I went down the rabbit hole of NLP, started learning it. And then NLP opened me up to something called hypnosis. And I went and studied under Mark Usick hypnosis and dove into so many of the big names in the business. And I'm blanking out. Marshall Silver is one of them. And so dove into hypnosis on a high level, which obviously you do a lot. You have recorded high quality hypnosis. I've listened to a lot of your tracks. And I'm very impressed. Like your hypnosis, like you got the sound, everything is there, and it's like I feel so relaxed. It's all the words are positive; they move you forward, which is very important with hypnosis. Not for anybody listening, not all hypnosis is created equal. A lot of people understand the principle behind hypnosis, so they can put you into a deep trance, and then they can throw suggestions at you. But a lot of people are throwing poison at you. They're not doing it on purpose. They just don't
it's good intentions. Well, it's because we have that habit so often. A lot of times, and I'm sure you experience it with, you know, your coaching students and so forth, is when you ask them, what do you want? And it's mostly what they don't want. And it's so challenging we don't even realize how much we're doing it, because we do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure anyway. Even if you're a towards person, your towards is still created by avoiding something anyway. So it's still like it's always there on some level. And it depends on how deep you go into your other than conscious to find out what specifically you're avoiding and so forth. You know, not that rabbit hole now, but yeah, I just wanted to edify your acknowledgement that sometimes people do not focus the most effectively.
And it's important to understand it's not their fault. Like, I mean, yes, on some level, but it's not their fault and they don't know any better. And so you have to be very careful when you listen to any recorded hypnotist, any live hypnotist. You have to know that person, know their language, know that they're trustworthy. And that's one of the pieces that I appreciate about using your programs. And I'll be honest, I was skeptical with yours as well. I do this with everybody. I did it with Mark, with everybody.
Should be.
Listen to it consciously, listen to the words. And I'm sharing this because we're on your program, and I want to be very honest and be forthcoming. I didn't get a chance to really say this to you yet. But I listened to it and I was just so proud to know you. I just was so proud to have the relationship we have, to know that your mindset, because we're riffing, you know, we're riffing a lot of this, and we're just saying what comes to our mind, and your words were positive. They're so powerful. They're uplifting. And so if you're going to be reprogramming your subconscious mind, you want to put those positive affirmations in. And every single word, the conjunctions, the prepositions, every single word that gets tied into it, the nouns and verbs must be powerful words. It's detail work, and you've done the detail work. And so that's that was just something I was so fascinated with. I was so impressed with you.
appreciate
I
that.
was very thankful to have the recording, have it. You know, I don't have to text you and be like, Doug, can you get on the phone with me and hypnotize me for the next 30 minutes of your life? And to have it as an asset now that I can listen to over and over and over and find that true relaxation, find the true, okay, moving forward, taking action on things that are important in life. It really was helpful. And I've used a lot of hypnosis. I've been hypnotized thousands of times. Hypnotherapy through myself, through others, and then live in person. I've paid for hypnosis. And
The guy that trained me, whose name is Doug as well, Doug O'Brien. Well, and obviously Tony Robbins did as well, all those years with him. But Doug was my first like trainer, like hardcore trainer, and we became very close and did a lot of projects together. He got a hernia operation, and he did self-hypnosis for the operation. No meds, no anesthetics for the operation. Now, he did say after the operation, he needed some pain medication to, because you can't stay in trance, all day.
Right.
But for the actual procedure, he did it. Heidi used hypno babies, hypnosis for giving birth, no medication, all that. So it is powerful, powerful stuff. Our minds, I mean, look at the world right now. The pain that we're in the world is a direct result of the way our minds are being accessed, and now more than ever, people need to mind their mind.
Yeah. And I love that you went into the world, right? So this is one of our main focuses. We're building 100 millionaires to build 100 millionaires to build 100 millionaires, because we know that wealth is the key to making the world a better place. You can't stop poverty if you can't feed yourself, right? So the only way to help other nations and help the poor is to become rich yourself so you can donate charity. And so for us, the mission is important to educate the world. The problem is the world is already hypnotized. There's this hypnosis that's being pounded into their brains by the people who are bigger than them, the media, social media. In fact, the media runs social media. Everything on social media is a copy of the media, and it's pounded into their brains, this hypnosis, this weakness, this need, this time scarcity, all of these money scarcity, all these terrible programs are being pounded into the minds of these poor individuals.
And the worst thing that my experience has been is the demonization of success, of money, of successful people, because I struggled with that growing up. When I grew up in a very well-off area, and we were the poor kids in town. We were in Garden City, Long Island, super beautiful place. And I thought rich people were assholes because they treated me not very nice, and we didn't have the money, and we didn't, it didn't have the nice cars, didn't have, all of that stuff. So when I started making money in the music industry, the first thing I did was get rid of it, because I didn't want people to think I was an asshole. Right. So that was the money monk part of me. Give it away. Let's we're going out to dinner. I'll pay. Oh, you don't have money for rent? No problem. Here you go. Yep. And it wasn't until I started to shift that. But what I see is that being propagated through society, that making money the root of all evil, and that's not that's not it may be because here's the thing: money is just energy. You have a lot of money, you have more energy. So if you're a jerk and you got a lot of money, you're a bigger jerk.
Truth. But if you're a good person and you got a lot of money, you're a bigger good person.
Yeah.
And it goes both sides. And you're right. Money is just energy, right?
Yep.
So we talk about in success and in our business, right? So deals, money, labor. That's what we're always looking for. And anytime you put in money, it's energy, right? So think of thoughts, feelings, actions. Thoughts, feelings, actions create results in life. Well, feelings are just energy, right? So money is a transferable form of energy. And so it doesn't make you evil. If you're a dick, you're going to be a bigger dick, right? Like if you're a good person, you're going to have more ability to help more people. Yep. And so, when people ask me does money make you happy? No, but neither is this conversation right now. So I can change how I feel about something. Now, if money buys me food that makes me full and I don't have to worry about it anymore, then I'm happy. And if this conversation allows me to help you feel better about making money, then now I'm happy. So it's all in how I feel about the situation. Now, if money buys me food and I don't like it, did it make me happy, right? So it's not exactly the money that buys happiness. It's your feeling about what the money has done that creates your happiness.
Right. It's all about your relationship with,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really what it is. And that's really what NLP is and why I got into it. It's your relationship with yourself, with communication, with the words, with it's the subjective human experience. It's all energy. And the power of, money makes you happy. Some argue then you don't know where to shop. But I
haven't had enough to know.
Yeah. No, but true story. I had a good friend of mine. We were in a band together, and he's a big DJ now. And a number of years ago, when he started to get some, good levels of success and so forth. And when we were in the band together, it's like we weren't making tons of money. We were, we had a record deal and all of that. But we were talking later in life, and now we're doing well. And he goes, I know they say money doesn't make you happy and all that, and all, but I got to tell you, sitting here having this conversation with you in my brand new Lexus feels pretty good.
Yeah. I was out with, go ahead.
Well, it's just that relationship, right? So there's nothing wrong with having stuff. It's just, as long as you don't make stuff your God, right? Stuff is just stuff. It's fleeting. It's okay to enjoy things. And men in general are a thing people. Like, we like things, we like trinkets, we like fixing stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a natural part of, that's why the man cave is full of things and stuff.
Man cave right now, it's full of blood.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that one shelf's empty.
Right.
The rest of them are full.
But yeah, it's so true. It is just our relationship.
Yeah. And so I was out the other night, and I was there with a couple of very successful people. We're having cigars, we're having drinks, and very expensive drinks, very expensive cigars, and a really nice exclusive place. And I was asked the question, hey, how much is enough? Like, how hard are you going to keep working? How much is enough? Money doesn't make you happy. And I looked around, and I held up the cigar, and I held up the drink, and I had my girlfriend, Dorina, was there on the side of me, and I said, you know what? I have to argue that money is allowing us to enjoy this experience. I'm going to pick up the tab later, and this is a good experience for us, and I'm enjoying it. And this is something that I want to do more of. And I will say that this is not the reason I make my money, right? At this point, this money that I'm spending right now is money that comes from passive income structures. So this isn't the work that I'm doing. The work I'm doing is actually helping other people have this experience.
And that's the fulfillment that comes, the contribution, the adding value, and to create it first gives you even more confidence and leverage and ability to then share your wisdom, which ultimately will, of course, you should be compensated for. And the psycho remuneration is where the true power is going to be, when you see other people passing it forward.
Right. Exactly. And so we're looking to build a machine. So we're looking to build a real estate investment trust that will help people retire. So me as an investor right now, I've still got to somewhat manage my property management. And so I've got all these units. I've got over 50 units. We're looking to double that. And so the more we go up in buildings, the more we have to make sure that the numbers are working. We have to make sure that the properties are being managed appropriately. We've got all these relationships with our tenants, and we have to make sure somebody's managing. Now, we don't actively do much. It's a 1 hour conversation a week with our property manager, if that, or it's just a couple texts. But at the end of the day, the bigger this gets, the more stressful it is. And I know I'm systematic. Most landlords are not. So they're getting these big portfolios, and they don't know how to get out, because you can't just disposition a portfolio that size if you picked it up in one city, because you'll flood the market, because it's all made out of 3 families, 2 families, 4 families, 5 families. So you'll flood the market at 100 units or 200 units. And so in order to retire these people, these good people who've done a lot for their communities by creating good quality housing, they have to have some way to disposition. And the only person who could pick something up like that is a large institutional investor. Typically, large institutional investors don't want little mixed properties, a lot of roofs. What they want is one big complex. Give me the complex.
Right.
And so they're not built to operate the way that we operate. We buy portfolios actively. We just bought a 24 unit portfolio, and we bought an 11 unit portfolio. We buy portfolios and we disposition them. and we roll into bigger portfolios and we disposition. And so the REIT will help retire people. It's going to make a ton of money for us. Like Doug, it's going to throw so much money into our pockets. It's insane. But it's going to help a lot of people continue their lifestyle without having all the headache and the work, and knowing that the REIT has taken care of their money for them. They're getting dividends instead, which is extremely passive.
So just for some people who may be new to that conversation, a REIT is a real estate investment trust. So it's the opportunity to be an owner of multiple properties without having to go out and buy multiple properties one at a time or all that. So you're buying the portfolios of multiples through the REIT. It's that trust that others can invest in.
Right. And so the reason for it is to help people retire. Like ultimately, it's to help people retire. And the 100 Millionaires is building these millionaires up and then helping them retire and get out. And it comes from a place of we've got to help these people who have the same problem as us. We saw a problem in the marketplace, and now it's solving that problem and building the agency, building all the agents, building these people who can go out and help investors buy and sell property the right way is all part of the same mission. So people look at me and say, "Oh, you're starting a brokerage." Dude, I'm building 100 Millionaires. I'm building a 10,000 unit REIT, $1 billion REIT that can help.
So is part of the strategy then you're building also people to go out and find the individual properties as agents, so they're making money on the front end, and then by bringing them into the REIT, it's almost like wholesalers, but not exclusively.
Right.
So again, if you're not into real estate, a wholesaler is going to find a property that they'll contract, you could buy at a certain price. They could bring it in that way, or as an agent, find a deal, buy the deal, and bring it in if it makes sense. And you're training both of those.
Yes. So Agent Alchemist trains people how to find deals, how to get deals, how to raise capital, how to buy them yourself. The idea is we're helping investors find the properties for their portfolios, the properties that they'll like. And we're helping wholesalers find income from doing something that they enjoy so they can one day buy properties. We're helping agents do the same. And the goal is ultimately to help people, good people. And this is the thing. Not all landlords are good people, and that's okay, right? Not all rich people are good people. It's a mix. And so what we're doing is building a community of good quality landlords to become our millionaires. It's not just, hey, building 100 millionaires. This is qualification. I only make good people good money. That's been since I was 21 years old and got into sales, 25, got into sales. I knew that I was going to help good people become richer, but I was going to qualify. They had to be good.
Right.
And so that's where just building our own people makes more sense. We're building them up, helping them raise their values, and moving them into the REIT down the road.
Well, I think this is an instructive point, is that I think a lot of people have certain mindsets about real estate agents, about real estate investors, about landlords, and that may prevent people, good people, from getting into it. Again, as I shared earlier, the demonization. If you believe that real estate agents are bad people, or investors, landlords, or slumlords, or whatever, then that, other than consciously, is going to prevent you from taking action, which is why I love what you do, why you bring me and Terry and other people in to share some paradigm shifting mindsets, because for most people, that is the blocker. It's what's up here that prevents us from taking action. I remember when I finally made the decision, that's it, going to get into real estate. I had to get over that in my head. Like, all right, I'm just going to do it, dive in. And I looked at all my past successes. I'm like, oh, God. The only time I did it was, when I had the biggest successes, when I dove head in and I, took away whatever fear and access confidence. Then I had to come home and tell Heidi, like, okay, we had this little bit of buffer, and, now we're going to get another mortgage. Like, another mortgage? I'm like, well, no, it's going to, it'll pay for itself, right? And it was really scary for her as well, when the first time you do it. And then now she's like, go get some more.
We could use more of those.
Yeah, good, more of that. And
Aisle 5 rental property.
So then I remember when I first did it, I went to my mom, well-meaning. I was like, hey, Mom, look at this, start investing. And it was years ago. And she's like, well, yeah,
your father and I, we invested, and man, you gotta be careful. We had this bad tenant and they did like, $1,500 of damage, and then we had to get him out and we had to evict him and then blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, like get out, right?
Yep.
And now I'm telling her she owns properties that she just would live in and all that, but now she's getting older than that, and like I finally convinced her to finally rent them.
Yep.
Because I'm like, Mom, you've got she's got one house, she's making $40,000 a year in just for the season. Like, it pays for itself. Why wouldn't you do that? And she's like, well, And
Wow.
it took a while for her, that mindset. And now she's so grateful because she's like, wow, what a load off. I'm like, yeah, your burn rate was pretty high on that. Now, and it's all mindset.
And I noticed the same thing with my grandparents when I grew up in a 4-family, right? So I grew up in a multifamily in a poor city. My family was poor, so I didn't have like the nice city. I was literally just poor, surrounded poor, trying poor. And it was, so I didn't know any better. And
Right.
So my grandparents, they would rent their units out so cheap. And it wasn't until I owned my first couple of rentals and I was managing my own properties that a tenant left after like 27 years, paying like $300 a month. And I told them, I was like, I can get you $800 for that unit. And they said, oh my God, no, we can't do that to somebody. We can't charge somebody $800 a month for this beautiful, we just spent $26,000 renovating this unit, right? Like I was there, I ran the wires, we did the drywall, I installed the floors, my uncle did the cabinets. Like we insulated the walls. Who has an insulated apartment? We went to the nines on this.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, it's worth $800. I assure you. Look at my rents. I'm getting $1,100 right now. I'm getting $1,000. Like, I can get you $800. Let me do it. And she's like, no, put it for $650. And I put it for $800, and
gave her $650. Kept the.
And that was the conversation I had with her. I was like, look, she really wants it, and I told her, I was like, so 800's good to the tenant right in front of her, and she said, yeah, 800's fine. And my grandmother said, no, it's only $650. And I had a signed lease. I had the money in my hand. And it's just proof that the mindset is more powerful than what you're seeing. The reality in front of you can be perceived as something else because your mind is so garbage, so damaged, right?
Well, okay. So hopefully just other than consciously, I would just like people to also recognize that point through life experience, and where else does sometimes that show up where you're given the facts and then you go, I'm not even going to believe my lying eyes.
Yeah. How does it show up for you, right?
Yep.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And if you're seeing some truth to this right now, I bet you there's some stuff in your life that you're not even looking at. Health, wealth, relationships, they all tie into each other. Your spirituality, your mindset, it all ties in. So how does this serve you, right? How does it serve you? How you do anything is how you do everything. And where does this show up for you? Those 3 sentences are so powerful. And if you just write those down and look at every, and I told this to Dorina the other day, because we're talking about time management, priority management, right?
Right.
And so we're having this conversation, and I just told her, I said, honestly, this is the most important thing I can teach you right now, is that if you don't get your priorities straight, your one priority straight, then the rest of your life will feel like a chaotic mess. When you know your one thing, your one priority each day, what you're going to tackle, and you're just tackling what you can create in a day, and then it's efficient acts, not inefficient acts, just efficient acts that get the job done, the highest level, fastest speed, you're going to be a much happier person. So it was, I don't know, how does that serve you? All right, going back and forth. And everything that we do has to be powerful. Everything that we do has to be done the right way, the right time, with the right people. And by shifting your thoughts to, am I doing the right thing right now? It just speeds up your entire life, and it creates a lot of happiness.
With the context of, and that's where I think a lot of people also, fail to get really clear on, is their vision, their purpose, their why. And that's why it's so important, that your focus, Oz, is, create 100 millionaires. Well, that's measurable, that's specific, right?
Yep.
it's actionable. You have the thing. It's realistic, right? Because if one person can become a millionaire, anybody can become a millionaire.
Yeah.
It's relevant in that, you know, you have the talents, the experience, and you brought in a team of people who have the talent and the experience to bring in the resources that people can be resourceful with. And it's timely. Now is the time. Yeah. There's never been a more important time for people to get their mind right so that they could show up to the best version of themselves. Does money solve everything? Look, when I'm looking at the challenges in the world, it is not the racism, all that. It's not about that. It really ultimately becomes about money. It is a people right now. We're being controlled. Everybody is being controlled manipulated by the people with the most money.
Yeah.
Period.
But the most influence, because it's
right.
It's not even money.
Because they're buying it. They're buying the influence.
Yes. And that is exactly why we're hell bent on becoming rich and richer. Every dollar we take in goes back into marketing. Every dollar we take in goes back into media. It goes back into pushing this positive message out, because if we don't do it, nobody will. We know what the people with money are doing right now. The people with power are doing right now. It's not moving us forward. It hurts society. They're creating infighting. They're creating all sorts of weakness in our society and in our culture. And so in order to change it, we've got to spend some serious dough. They've got momentum. So it's just like going on high speed. Like when you're shifting gears on the highway, if you're driving a Tesla, you don't got this worry, but if you're shifting gears on the highway, right, you can be running the engine at 1,000 RPM if you're shifted all the way up into fifth gear and you're going at the right speed.
Right.
And so they've got momentum. For us to catch up to how much influence they have, we've got to outspend them. And the only way to do that is we've got to out-earn them. And so the mission becomes, what can we do to add value to the universe, add value to the marketplace on a level that will help us create this marketing budget to go out and help the world, to actually have an effect changing the world? Who do we have to meet? Who do we have to influence? 100 millionaires is more than just building 100 millionaires. It's building 100 influencers.
It's a movement. Yep.
It's a movement to help the world become a better place. And then retire them, right? You worked hard. Like, here's the REIT. You can retire. You can go do your thing. And once they're retired, you better believe they're going to go push this mission. They're going to go and push hard.
Yeah, when my shift around finances came when I met my mentor. His name was Eric Emanuel. He's unfortunately no longer with us. But I remember I met him, and originally I was supposed to meet with him for a couple hours. He's the guy, it was a couple of hours, like an hour maybe. He was the money behind the Backstreet Boys. Oh. Like, he financed Lou Pearlman. Like, they were partners, but he was the money behind it. And without getting into his whole story, we met and we're hanging out, and I was just like, look, I'm like, Eric, you know, here's how it shows up. I've missed multiple times. He canceled on me multiple times to have this meeting with him. And I finally got to him. You know, I rebooked it. Finally get to him, go into his Upper East Side apartment, overlooking the Hudson, looking at the 59th Street Bridge. I mean, it was East 52nd, beautiful, beautiful place. And yeah, he had the whole floor of the apartment building. So I walk in, he's on the phone, he comes in, he sits me down, and he's on the phone, and he shoves over a newspaper. And he points at it, the article, and then he points to the phone. And the article was talking about how the last piece of beachfront property in Mexico was stolen by the Mexican government, like by the president of Mexico's son or something, and how the State Department had to get involved. Wow. And he's like, then he gets off the phone. He's like, that was the State Department. And he was dealing with this situation. So I was like, wow. And he's like, you know why I met with you? And I'm sure it's just the consistency. You know, I met with you. I'm like, no. He goes, I owed it to you. You kept, every time I booked, and I was really, I'm really busy. And it's like, I'm sorry, I kept canceling on you. I wasn't canceling because I didn't want to talk to you. I'm really busy. And you just never gave up. So I owed it to you. I owed to get to meet you. And I was like, okay, cool. We're sitting down, and then I learning all about his whole story, and it's really fascinating, you know, what he's had accomplished, and he's close to a billionaire. And I was like, what is money to you? Because I had a weird because I was back then, I had been making great money in the music industry, but this is after the Napster. Now I lost everything, and I'm starting over. And I'm like looking at all my failures of what I was not a good steward with my finances. I didn't invest in real estate like I wanted to. I didn't do all of that. And I'm like, I know, and I'd been to MMI and I'd been into Tony Robbins. So now I'm asking the questions. I'm learning to ask the questions. So it's like, what is money to you? And he's like, money's energy. And he goes, Doug, he looked at me. He's like, pin could have dropped. He looked at me and he goes, it is your responsibility to make as much money as you possibly can, ethically, morally, and positively. Because if you don't have it, you can't help anyone. And I was like, oh, ow. Yeah, it's to think of that, like, it's your responsibility to add value and receive. I mean, it wasn't like, you just go out and steal money. It was go out and earn it, create it. And the way you create it is by adding more value to the marketplace, to more people than anybody else. And then you obviously get to receive the benefits, but you can't help anybody. And he was on multiple boards of charities and all that, and no one ever knew of him. He, like, in the community, he was very well known, but he wasn't, like, no one heard of him before. But he was a powerhouse, and that changed everything. And then I remember I went to my dad and I was like, because we did not have a good relationship, and I was like, I was like, Dad, because I grew up and we grew up poor. We were in a nice area, but he didn't earn money till much later. But he worked at a bank. He was a banker, and he was, like doing deals like with Jack Nicklaus. He was a mortgage broker, but for big commercial projects and that kind of thing. He ultimately got into it. And he's like, well, and I was like, Dad, what's money to you? And he goes, well, remember, all those projects that I would, finance or work on, I like golf. So I believe in golf. You know how many homes we created when we build a golf course on a complex with condos and townhouses and all that? Do you know how many jobs that created? Do you know how, like, I participated in helping people live, work, connect as families, connect on golf courses. I like golf. So it's, a thing. I get it. But I was like, everything shifted for me in that moment, because it gave me, so I had, Eric give me that seed. And then I was like, okay, I've been judging somebody all wrong.
Yep.
And so often I think people, because they may not be the best communicators or listeners, they get misinterpreted, they get misjudged, a lot of projections and confirmation bias. And then, like, the media, where we talked about, like, basically demonizing wealth, making, if you have a different thought process, then you're my enemy, instead of going, well, can't we all agree we want some of the same things and focus on those?
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the differences and focusing on what's wrong.
So what you just said is exactly why I push so hard on my city, right? So I grew up here in Fall River, and it's such an important part of me to be able to leave this city behind in a better position, a better light, because it was important to my grandparents that came here from Portugal to find an opportunity. They found an opportunity. They bought one multifamily and they worked their entire lives, and they were able to retire thanks to that one multifamily being paid off. And the city gave that to them. I used to, because my former wife used to say that, Fall River sucks, we got to get out. And I never experienced anything negative here. I basically worked and I went home and that was it. And so when we moved, I remember it hurt my grandparents so much. And I remember when I moved back, I said, I'm going to fix the city. I'm going to invest here. I'm going to improve my city. I'm going to make it a better place for people to live, for people to be. I'm going to increase the housing, right? I'm going to improve the housing because that's what I know how to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to encourage entrepreneurs to come here and build their businesses here and make it a better place. And I realized the problem with not just my city, but all cities that have an issue, the gateway cities, the depressed cities, is a perception around the city. It's not transportation. It's not education. It's not whether there's jobs. It's a perception of, does this city believe in itself? Mm-hmm. And if the city believes in itself, it will produce. And when you can get your community, when you can get your business, when you can get your family to believe in themselves, your children to believe in themselves, when you can get a city to believe in itself, a city rises up. Yep. And the only way that I saw possible was to increase influence in the city and then push a positive message out there. And over time, I've realized it's not about just my city. Like, yes, I am pushing hard here, and I'm going to continue pushing hard here. But the mission is worldwide. It's global. It's national.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Our country is racist. Right? Other countries are not. Right? If you go to Europe and you see somebody from Uganda, like they don't have racism there the way we have it here. Right?
You
Like
still have jerks, though.
they will always be there. Right? But racism is an American thing. Right. I only know this because I'm hanging out with a lot of international people now. And they're like, yeah, what's with you guys over there in America? Like, what is this?
Well, and I mean, in that conversation, I feel like the way it's being gone about and the way it always, for whatever reason, has been approached from all angles is what's keeping it alive and is what is exploiting it, as opposed to, because there are a lot, like, I know more non-racist people than racist people. My universe, like I hang out with consciously with spiritual, personal development, business people who they are all about support. They're the opposite of racist because like just they come from people, they come from business, they come from, look, everybody, we need a leg up for everybody. Like they're very charitable. Frank McKinney, we just had him the other day. He's built 27 self-sustaining villages in Haiti.
Yep.
Like these are the people I associate with. So we need to exploit that.
Yes.
Like, look at all these amazing people and stop focusing on all the negative people and feeding them like fuel to justify their thing. Why don't we talk about like improving everybody's lives and not, why it's not working? Let's have the answer, which is create wealth, create opportunity.
That's the truth. So it's what we resist persists.
Yep.
Right. What we resist persists. And so using that, and this is a tip for anybody who wants to truly become wealthy. I started realizing that when I said, oh man, I can't figure it out. I can't make money. It's so hard to make it in my city. It's so hard to make it in my city. It's so hard to, I was hypnotizing myself when I became aware that, oh my God, it's so easy to make it here. Oh my God, I can't stop the income. I can't stop the money from coming in. I can't stop the flow from flowing in because
I might suggest you rework that one.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I realize,
got you.
Because the mind doesn't hear negative, so it heard stop, even though I can't. So imagine once you own and tweak that.
Yes. Oh, it's exponential.
The floodgates are going to open even more.
Doug, help me out with this. Free coaching session.
Of course. All right. So I can't stop. So what is the flowing is ever present and over avalanches of abundance come my way.
Yes.
I see only opportunity. I see only residual income. I see only new homes. I see only new investments. I see only new ways to turn opportunities into more opportunities. I see more golden geese every day.
Yes, that's it. Every opportunity is flow to me. Everybody I touch makes money. Everybody I talk to makes money. I'm increasing the people around me. I'm improving the community. Everything I do improves the community. Everything I do brings money in. Doug, you got it. Love it.
When I work out, when I was doing martial arts, I did a lot of the kickboxing and stuff. I'd be doing like every day in every way. I'm getting stronger and stronger every day in every way. I'm getting closer and closer to God every day in every way. Opportunities flow to me like avalanches, and I would just say that over and over, just to keep that flow going. Because, and the reason why I know a lot of times people, may get, have different mindsets around positive affirmations or what have you. In so many respects, a lot of times it's just to put something in there in place of the negative stuff that's going to happen other than consciously. So that's where the programming comes in, is to notice what is the other than conscious thought. What is that feeling, and how does it feel to say, oh, I can't do it, or that's easy for them, and that's the thing. The other thing is you make it look easy because you've done the work.
Right.
Your muscles are strong because you started out broke.
Went to $250,000.
And then beyond, you continue the momentum because, and I always ask this, and correct me if I'm wrong, every person I've ever asked, every millionaire always shares that the first million was the hardest.
Dude, the first 100,000 was a bitch. The first 100,000 was a bitch. It was the hardest money I ever earned. And the first million, it was actually a lot easier.
Well, because you change your relationship with money after the first 100,000.
Yeah.
Point being is that for anyone, whatever their marker was, your marker was 100,000.
Yeah.
It was what it took inside here.
Yeah.
And you shared it. You didn't think you were worthy. You didn't think you were good enough. You didn't think you could do it. You didn't think you had those stories. And then once you overcame that, once you busted through that, then it became new possibility and probability.
The last 2 million we picked up last year, well, this sort of in the last 8 months.
Oh, lost you.
We just picked up $2 million worth of equity on it because of the way we picked it up. The easiest deal I've ever done. The easiest stuff I've ever done was a $2 million in 4 months, 2 projects, right? We picked up 35 units in 4 months. And like, I have not touched nothing. I painted 1 unit. I painted 1 unit. I did. And like, we're talking like, because I felt like it. I was like, dude, the painter wants to charge $2,500. I'm paying myself.
Right.
And I swear to God, I went and I cut myself a check for $2,500, and I just went and I painted.
Love it. Well, but that's the mindset shift, because if $2 million is a lot of money, meaning it is a lot of money, but if you think it's unachievable amount of money, and that deals like that are impossible, you'd never take the opportunity. The other night, and the deal that the situation that I'm waiting for the contract to come. I was out to dinner with a new friend of mine, super successful guy, and has a couple hundred employees, and he's politically connected, amazing guy. We become friendly, and we're out to dinner, and we're just catching up. How you doing? He's like, oh, it's great. I just started this new business. I made like $4 million in the last month, and just a couple of my clients. And I'm like, awesome. What'd you do? And he's like, oh, and he tells me about it, and I'm like, I could help you with that. And he's like, great. I'll split it with you. And like, bring me, any deal you bring me, we'll work it out. And so I talked to him yesterday, and he's like, he's going to send me the paperwork. And that was the deal we're going to talk to you about, because you may benefit from it.
Yeah.
In the, almost 7 figures, in the high 6 figures per deal.
Now we're talking.
Right. But if you don't believe that's possible, when someone says too good to be true, or, like get overwhelmed by it, when he shared it, at first, people go, oh, I don't want to ask to, I don't want to ask. And I'm like, as soon as he told me, I'm like, what are you doing? And is there an opportunity?
Yep. Smart. That's a mindset that you've adopted and adjusted to. And in that, dude, I have it in my program, right? They're like, yeah, but can't, like, I almost think I'm offering too much. Maybe I should only offer, hey, I'll teach you how to make 100,000, right? Like maybe I should I'll just help you make $100,000 instead of $1 million.
Well, there's an element of truth to that, depending on who you're attracting, because for some, that million, but it happens. So like in the marketing world, in the coaching world, in all of that, you'll see people and they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to take you to 7 figures, in less than a year doing my program. Meanwhile, they haven't done it themselves.
Right.
But I think for some, that is so far out of the realm of possibility that they go, oh man, I would be happy with $100,000. Like if you could show me how to make $100K in my coaching business, I'd be set. And then once that's possible, they go, oh, okay. Right. So I think, again, maybe there might be another, I do some split testing, some marketing thing. And what are some other ways that you could, fill your funnel with what's most attractive? What are people, are they at a point where, to be a millionaire, while it's their goal, it's beyond their realm of possibility. Say, look, I'm going to teach you how to make $100,000 in real estate within a year.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, but once they get in the program, and they start really learning and seeing people, and they hear your story. Oh, your 100 grand was the hardest. Okay, well, if I get that 100 grand, that means now I have, that's why I do firewalks. That's why I do fire eating, board breaking, glass walking, arrow breaking, rebar bending, all of those things is because it helps shift. Once you accomplish the one, then you go, oh, I've broken through. I have a new paradigm of what's possible.
Yeah.
If I could do 100K in real estate, then I can do $1 million.
Yeah.
Because if I've never made money in real estate, it's alien.
You know, it's funny, man. Like I remember thinking if I could make what I used to make in a year. I remember my first year of making what I used to make in a year. I made it in 2 months. So I used to be a $40,000 person. I made it in 2 months. I made 45,000 in 21 and a $23,000 a month. And I remember thinking, God damn, this is amazing, right? It's amazing.
Oh, lost you. Oh boy.
I figured out life, right? And closed the house, made 100,000. I made 150,000 in a day. And then I did that back to back. And I had 3 closings in 1 month where I made 150, 150, 100. No, it was 150, 100, and 60,000. So it was a little over $300,000 in 1 month because the closings all just happened to line up together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's about what I made for the year. I made 400,000 for the year because the brokerage on the other side, but in the rental properties. But that was my first year where I was like, oh my God, like it's possible to make stupid money. Like this would take me before 7-8 years to make. And now it's happening in a month. And the effort, Doug, when I talk about effort, like you see me all over the place. People are like, oh my God, you're always working. Dude, I'm not working. I'm grinding. Like I'm on a mission to help the world. I'm doing something that's important to me. This is my fun. This is my play. This is how I choose to spend the rest of my life. This is not work, right? There may be money involved because money is the energy that I use to get to more people. But the effort that I put into making that 300,000 was, I like that building. That sounds like a good purchase. Hey, contractor, can you go take a look at it? And he says, this is the quote. I did the math. I'm an agent. I know the valuation, but I didn't even do the CMA. I had my agent do the CMA. I got a referral fee for it. And so this work was done by somebody else. It was managed by somebody else. It was the contracts were all signed by somebody else. I've had deals where I didn't sign the contract, my business partner did. Where it was like I show up to the closings because there's a check. And I like the selfie with the check. And that's why I still go to the closings. But like sometimes to purchase, I'm not there. Sometimes to sign everything, like a lot of times that's all I do is the purchase, the sale, and I'll walk the property for social media purposes. That's it.
Right. Well, and what's instructive here is that doesn't happen overnight.
No.
So I think that's where people need to sign up for opportunities so that you can show people how to get to that point.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that timeline and, like where we go, I'm going to go sit, wow, Gualter, he's crushing it. I'm just going to go do what he does. Oh, he doesn't do this, that, or the other. I'm like, well, I get, but because he has the experience to know who to hire, how to, vet the properties. And there's a lot of like little things that go on. And I talk with Paul about this and I share this and I haven't had a chance to talk with Tony about it. But when I first got the gig with Tony, I was like, oh, great. I'm going to model Tony. Well, yeah, but when I got the gig with Tony, he's already 25 years in the business. He was already an icon. How he builds and grows his business from there, it was very different than how he started. Yeah. And how you do business now is because you've created momentum, you've created systems, and it took a while at first to create them, to build them, to learn how to vet them and all of that. So that's why it's important that people get on board in a program like yours with that mindset of, I'm going to learn how to build the foundation, not how to paint the already finished mansion. How to decorate it. I first have to learn how to build the foundation because a lot of times I think people, and that's what marketing is, they see the mansion, they see the cool car, they see all of that. It's like, well, yeah, but you didn't see all the grease in my hands putting this together.
Yeah, Doug, you mentioned a good point because it comes in incremental spurts, right? Like I had to make 100 before I could make $250,000. This was years, $100,000. Then I earned $250,000. Then I earned the $500,000. And then I shifted from earning to gaining net worth because I was paying so much in taxes and it was killing my mission. It wasn't allowing me, like when you pay Uncle Sam, you're not able to spend that money on marketing anymore.
Right.
And so it was, I got to keep the money in the system and keep it rolling. And so take less on income. And I had a year where I owed $70,000 in taxes. And I said, I'll never do that again because that's
You need a new accountant.
Well, we made a lot of money. It was, we made $450,000 and only owed 70. Like it was.
Oh, that's actually really
that
good.
was a damn good year.
Yeah.
But that's because of the way we earned the money. There's a lot of capital gains, so we weren't taxed as heavily, and a lot of it I spent $150,000 on personal development that year.
Yep.
And marketing, between marketing and personal development,
Which are both tax deductible.
And that was one of the pieces that we realized if we spend on marketing, it moves our mission forward, so we can make a ton of money. But if we're putting it back in the business, we can keep pushing, and it gets us what we want, which is just to help more people and help people build wealth so that they can go out and help people build wealth.
Somewhat tangential, but real estate related. Have you gotten into opportunity zones?
So real estate related, I have not personally, although we do invest in opportunity zones, we haven't gotten into the federal dollar. And it's just because our gains are no longer there anymore. Right. So our gains are spent in marketing. So we don't have the experience of needing to shelter gains by the tax benefit of the opportunity zones. But they are, if you're doing a 1031 exchange or you're taking some sort of big gain, it allows you to basically tax free for a certain period of time, save a lot of money. So it depends on your financial situation. If you don't have the play that we have to spend on marketing, then it does make sense to invest in opportunity zones, and the cities need them. They're there for a reason.
Right. And then another thing down that road, the person that I'm partnering with this situation with that I just met, he made all that, like $4 million in like a month. His specialty is cost segregation. So I don't know if you do any cost seg with your properties, but he's the number one in the country in cost seg. So if you haven't done that yet, I'll make that part of the connection because I think it'll be a win on, that conversation alone could turn into huge opportunities.
And for us, it's a balance, right? Because when we cost seg, that means that suddenly now our depreciation is wiped out. We're wiping a lot of our depreciation out. So it increases our gain. So we still sometimes take the gains when we sell a property.
Right.
So there's this.
Oh, there's no, that's the balance. You do your analysis on what's going to serve you best, because for some properties it may be perfect and for others it may not serve you, but it's great if you're going to do it with the best.
Exactly.
Right? If you're
I love it. When you have a choice, always work with the best.
That's right.
I love it, Doug. So I don't know if I've said it yet, but gualteramarelo.com/live. Come in, hang out with me and Doug, a couple of our other coaches. We're doing the 52 Weeks to Wealth. So it's a free event that we run. I'll be running it the rest of the year. Once I've finished running it, I will have somebody else running it. This is a time-intensive event for me to run. And I'm doing it for 52 weeks. So it's 52 lessons. And it's something that I want to do. It's important to get out there, but I have other projects that I want to work on. And so when I'm done with this one, it will be somebody else managing it and running it. So come join me and Doug. Go to gualteramarelo.com/live and hang out with us Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and learn how to build wealth. This is the 52 Millionaire Wealth Principles. We take them 1 week at a time so you can implement them into your life.
It's not exclusively. Oh yeah, please. Well, of course. I mean, it's not exclusively for real estate either. Although real estate if you're in real estate, you're going to get a lot out of it because so many people are in it. You're in it. I'm in it. There's going to be a lot of resources there. And it's really about the mindset of creating that wealth, creating that abundance, surrounding yourself with people that hold you to a higher standard, and out of love and respect. No one, when I say holding you to a higher standard, that isn't like, cracking the whip and be like, oh, you jerk, no, it's like, hey, look, it's through modeling. It's through witnessing and sharing. Oh, here's an opportunity to share what's going on and getting essentially some incredible feedback from you and the other, incredible people on the call.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. Like I should have started this years ago, but I'll be honest, I didn't know the principles. I didn't have them all dialed down.
Hmm.
And every book says 17, 3, 10, 12. And I started adding them all up and I was like, oh no, there's 52. Because at some point you've got to put them into place. And if you go and try to read a book and take all the principles and put them into place right away, you lose it. And so one a week, if you implement one principle a week into your business, into your life, into your health, and then next week you do another one, that's 52 new habits, new principles. You're a changed person. You're a changed man or woman at the end of the year.
Because yeah, compound interest, it's not just 52%. It is that 1% on top of another percent is every week is they build on, it becomes compounded, not just, linear.
Right. And you get it. And this is how I built my business. I built my life on systems. And these 52 systems, these 52 principles, when you implement them into your life, one at a time, taking them seriously, making actual change, doing the one thing, right? So you learn a principle and you say, how do I change this in my business? How do I change this in my life right now? And doing it. Because a lot of people will say, okay, I'll do that eventually. And then they miss out on the opportunity of that week. Because it does take some time to reprogram the mind. And in those weeks, they're powerful.
It's perfect. Yeah. I mean, and my program Freedom Hack is designed to get you in the right headspace so that you could take action with the actual principles. It's not because the principles are sound. The only thing that stops people from doing so is all the conversation we were chatting about earlier, the limiting beliefs, those non-resourceful thoughts and feelings, right? Where I come from, my focus is on what emotion you're in, right? What state you're in. That's the fundamental. So if you're angry, you're going to take different actions. If you're resentful, different actions. If you make different decisions, and then you could be on that call. And if you're pissed off or upset, your call's not going to go too well.
Exactly. And it's so important to recognize the partnerships, the power of the right people. And since Wealth Principle 22, I've it's either 21 or 22. But this Saturday we're teaching it, and it's the power of partnerships and affiliation. So affiliating with strategic partners.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I believe it's called affiliating with strategic partners. And so what we're doing right now, like cross-pollinating, like getting audiences to listen to each other. And, I just shared it I shared this post on 36 different groups that I have that are wholesaling, real estate investing, mindset, speaking. I shared it in some of my local communities here, group in Fall River, New Bedford, Attleboro, because to me, I knew this call would be something very generic that anybody could hit.
Yeah.
And so I was able to share this across a lot of different groups, and a lot of different people have access to this knowledge and this information now. And so, Doug, I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to do this together. Thank you for all the time you dedicate to us and the Alchemist community, for doing the free coaching sessions, for taking people into the coaching program. Darina's in your coaching program right now, and she has seen massive results. I can't tell you as somebody who, is in a romantic relationship with her, to see her grow and develop and embrace her life and herself is, I appreciate you on a level that I can never repay you.
Dude, that's the mission.
Yeah.
Is to create opportunities for more leadership to come out, more love, more laughs, more just to really create abundance in every area of our lives. So thank you for the opportunity. This is, getting to know you and through, the program with Paul and then taking it beyond has been a huge privilege, and I couldn't be more blessed, and my resources are your resources. So anything I can do to support you and together, with everyone as we build momentum, we're here to transform the world.
Yeah. And I see us doing it, Doug. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you and everything you're doing. And I will see you Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I got another call I got to jump on.
Yep. Do your thing. I love you for who you are and who you aren't. And we will see you very shortly.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Cheers to your success, Doug.
You too. God bless.